The information provided by Trading Forex Price Action to you does not constitute personal financial advice. The information provided is of a general nature only and does not take into account your individual objectives, financial situation, or needs. It should not be used, relied upon, or treated as a substitute for specific professional advice.
Weekly Forecast.
Hey guys, this is a weekly forecast for January 17th through the 21st of 2022. Alright, we'll start off with the Euro dollar. This is a monthly chart. We'll start off with an overview. So since this price action right here is very strong short, and this move still having a ways to go, in the long term I'm short biased, right back down to this pivot low right here. And moreover, because of a breakout of this trend line from this pivot to this pivot right here, and that breakout being right here, in the medium term, I'm long biased, right back up to this pivot high right here. And moreover, on the daily chart, since there was a weak long trade that formed, and a strong short trade that formed, in the short term, I'm short biased, right back down to a monthly gap level right here. Okay, let's talk entries. Okay, this is a weekly chart. For a full explanation of what's been happening with price in this entire area right here, please refer to the Forex Recap series. Okay, but the most recent move that happened was there was a strong short trade that formed here, and there was a weak long trade right here, and so the bias was short, or in other words, price was likely to reach this pivot low before reaching this pivot high, and that main target was reached at this point right here. However, on each of these pullbacks right here, there were never any signs of strong long strength on the lower time frames, so price came all the way down to these levels right here for extension targets. And so if you recall, I still have two partial short positions that I entered at 122.50, another one at 121.30, to see if we could get to a monthly trend line level about 15 pips below this low right here. Okay, so for the time being on this weekly chart, it still seems that price will reach that extension target at that monthly trend line level about 15 pips below this low. Okay, however, on the daily chart, there is a daily bias that's set up at these levels right here that I'm looking at the current moment to possibly take a short entry. So let me go ahead and explain that to you. Let's go over to the daily chart. Okay, so on this daily chart, the last daily long trade that formed was right here, and the last daily short trade that formed was right here. Now this long trade was stronger than this short trade, and so at this point during the holidays, the bias was long, or in other words, price was likely to reach this pivot high right here before reaching this pivot low. And moreover, at this point right here, again during the latter part of the holidays, there was 4-hour lower time frame confirmation of this long strength. So this would have been a relatively nice long entry. So the stop loss was about 2 times smaller than its profit potential, plus the possible extension targets. Now proceeding, as of Friday, there was actually another short trade that formed right here. And this short trade was actually stronger than the last daily long trade. And so typically the bias will be short at this point on this daily chart. Or in other words, price is likely to reach this pivot low before reaching this pivot high. However, in this case, there is a possibility that a monthly gap level that runs right through these levels right here can be a target for this daily short bias. And therefore, if I'm going to take this short entry, my main target will be at the monthly gap level right here, while extension targets will be at the last daily long trades stop loss level right here. Now, in order for me to take this short entry, there's a couple things I need to happen in order for me to take this short entry. Now, number one is that I'm going to need a nice pullback for a short entry. Now, this is due to the fact that this target is minimized by this possible monthly gap target that runs right through these levels. So I'm only looking to enter if I could get a pullback roughly to the 1.1440 levels right here, with a stop loss at this pivot high right here, and its main target being at that monthly gap level, and possible extension targets at that daily long trade stop loss level right here. Now the second thing I need to happen is lower time frame confirmation. So let's go over to the 1 hour chart. Okay, so first of all, on this 1 hour chart, for the last week, there was actually short-term short strength confirmed through this fake 1 hour double top that formed right here, which typically provides short-term long strength. However, price was still able to get to its target height level, roughly in these areas right here, before reaching a stop loss level, thus representing short-term short strength. Okay, and moreover, what I'm looking at to confirm there is no short-term long strength is for 1 hour price to break out this trend line from this pivot to this pivot right here. Okay, and I do not want to see a breakout of this trend line, then an immediate break back in to this trend line, where this would signify short-term long strength. Again, I don't want this breakout candle and the break-in candle to close and open at the same level. Okay, and what I would like to see to not confirm short-term long strength is perhaps a breakout of this trend line, and then price to wiggle around a bit, and then possibly break back in, giving me a nice pullback to this 1.1440 levels, and perhaps even higher for a short entry. Again, with the stop loss at this pivot high right here. Okay, and moreover, I do not want to see these types of breakouts of nice trend lines on the even lower time frames, such as the 15, 5-minute, and even the 1-minute chart. Okay, and another thing I'll be looking at on the lower time frames to not confirm short-term long strength are through price patterns. So for example, I do not want to see a fake double bottom to form, which shows short-term short strength, at least to the second bottom's stop loss level right here. However, price still reaches this target height level before reaching the stop loss level right here. Well, that would indicate that although there was short-term short strength from this fake double bottom, price was still able to override that short strength and reach its target height level before reaching the second bottom stop loss level, which indicates so I do not want to see these type of price patterns either on the lower time frames for that indicate short-term long strength. All right, so let me just sum this up on the daily chart. Okay, so again on this daily chart, the last long trade that formed was right here, and the last short trade that formed right here. And for the time being, the bias is short, or in other words, price is likely to reach this pivot low right here before reaching this pivot high. However, there is a monthly gap level that runs right through these levels. Now, the upper gap level is roughly in these 1.1340 levels, and so the main target will be at that monthly gap level, while extension targets will be at this price level right here, where the last long trade's stop loss level is at this level right here. Now again, in this case, since my main target is relatively close, I'm going to need a pullback at least to these 1.1440 levels and beyond possibly, so I could take a short entry, and moreover maintaining its integrity on the lower time frames, not showing lower time frame long strength. Okay, and last but not least, I'll always be looking for any compact long price action to form which shows extreme long strength. In which case this does form, I'll abort both those short entries I took from last year, and moreover not take this short entry also. Okay, so finally, let me just show you that gap level I'm talking about on the monthly chart. So let's go over to the monthly chart. All right, so that monthly gap level I was talking about is right here. Now the price levels for that are, the upper end is at 1.1341, and the lower end is at 1.1271. Okay, so the upper side of this monthly gap will be the main target for that daily short trade if elements align and I take that short entry. Okay, all right, so let's go on to the dollar yen pair. Okay, if you're having trouble understanding what I'm talking about in terms of weekly biases and strong and weak trades, please watch my price action trading course. For that course is designed to provide you the necessary information so you can understand these forecasts. Okay, this is a monthly chart. We'll start off with an overview. So since price broke out of this monthly doji range right here, right at this point right here, and since this breakout of this doji range is rather significant, and the next price element that's providing short strength is this monthly gap level right here, in the long term I am long biased right up to this monthly gap level right here. And moreover on the weekly chart, since there was a strong short trade that formed in a week long trade, however this strong short trade hit its target at a monthly gap level right here, which made the weekly bias into long, and that main target was just hit recently at this level right here. In the short term, I am neutral biased. Okay, let's talk entries. Okay, this is a weekly chart. For a full explanation of what's been happening in the price in this entire area right here, please refer to the Forex Recap series. Okay, but the most recent move that happened on this weekly chart was there was a strong short trade that formed in a week long trade. So typically the bias at this point will be short. However, this short trade hit its target at a monthly gap level that runs right through these levels right here. And thus the bias turned into long, or in other words, price was likely to reach this pivot high before reaching this pivot low. And that main target was hit right here. Okay, so at this point, since this main target was hit at this point, I'll be looking for either a weekly or a daily bias to form, so I could again find some entry opportunities. So what I'll be looking for on the weekly or daily chart is for a short trade to form, then a long trade to form. And if this short trade is stronger than this long trade, then at that point the bias will be short, or in other words, price is likely to reach this pivot low right here before reaching the hypothetical short trades pivot high. And the opposite is also true. If there's a weak short trade that forms and a strong long trade that forms, well, then the bias will be long in this case, or in other words, price is likely to reach this pivot high right here before reaching the hypothetical strong long trades pivot low. Okay, so I'll be waiting for these setups to form in the coming days. And that said, I do want to show you the price levels I'll be looking for in the coming days and months that's going to provide short strength and long strength on the monthly chart. But before that, let me just show you what happened on this long entry opportunity right here on the lower time frames, because it did set up a very nice lower confirmation of long strength. So let's go over to the 4-hour chart. Okay, so on this 4-hour chart, that weekly long trade formed roughly in these areas right here. And as you can see, this trend line from this pivot to this pivot right here, it had very nice lower confirmation of long strength. As you can see, there was a breakout, then a break back in immediately, and moreover, price reached this prior major pivot high right here. Now, what I want to explain about this setup is that this is a very clean setup for a long entry, because recall the main stop loss level is at this pivot low right here, and the main target is way up here at these levels right here. So that long entry formed right here, and the lower confirmation of short-term long strength formed right after that, with the very nice pullback to that stop loss level, minimizing the risk for this long trade while increasing the profit potential. Alright, so that was just an example of a textbook long entry with great risk to reward parameters. Alright, so now let me show you the long-term levels I'm looking at that are providing short strength and long strength. So let's go over to the monthly chart. Okay, so on this monthly chart, the levels that will provide short strength in the future is, first of all, this trend line from this pivot to this pivot right here. You can see it has many touches right here. And another trend line from this pivot to this pivot right here. Okay, so these two basic trend lines are the levels I'm looking at that are going to provide future short strength. And moreover, there is a gap level right here that is also going to provide short strength. So let me just show you the levels for that. Let's just zoom in here. Okay, so that gap level is right here. The bottom end of that gap will be at 116.76, and the upper end will be at 117.47. Okay, so on the other hand, the levels that I'm looking at that are going to provide future long strength is, first of all, this trend line from this pivot to this pivot right here, and moreover, this horizontal trend line right here. Now, this horizontal trend line, like I mentioned in the overview, is a key support level that provides a lot of future long strength. Now, again, that's due to this monthly doji right here, which typically provides a nice range for a nice consolidation. However, it was broken out right away at this level right here. And so if price pulls right back down to these levels in the future, this is a key level I'll be watching for that's going to produce a lot of future long strength. Okay, so for the time being, I'll just be waiting for that weekly and daily trades to form so I could derive a new bias in which I could find some entry points in. Okay. Alright, so that's it for the weekly forecast. I hope you guys have a great week. And thanks for watching. Okay, bye.